How we doing today, guys? Welcome to another episode of TR Performance. I did do a lot of stuff off camera that I did not show y'all, like insulating all the walls. I added in the battery, built a little kind of bit of a battery box. Got the solar chargers all hooked up and ready to go, and I also got the AC unit in with the inverter. What I'm going to go ahead and do today is I'm going to go ahead and button up a lot of the wiring. I have a switch panel that I'm going to go ahead and wire into the fuse box and get that set up in the proper location. Other than that, that's all we got for today, so enjoy. Really quick, I did want to run you guys through what I went ahead and did. So I've got my solar charge controller right here. When it's flashing like that, basically it means it's on float charge, and I have a pamphlet in here that tells me all the different things that I need to know about it. That's running up to the roof where it's connected and sealed up to the solar panels. I've got my battery right here. This is a 250 amp hour AMG sealed battery, so we're not going to have any problems with anything like that. I've got my fuse box right here. That's already hard mounted in there, so there's nothing to do to move that. Got my 2000 watt inverter that's connected to an extension cord, which is connected to the AC unit. I did have a weird thing with the AC unit where it did get a little wet on the outside, and some of that water traveled in, as you can see here. So I'm going to have to go ahead and fix that up. There's also a small leak in the corner up over there. I'm going to get that fixed as well. But right now, what I got to go ahead and do is I got to run wires from the positive and negative battery terminals to that fuse box right there. And then from that fuse box, I'm going to run it up into this switch panel, which will be moved up over here. Alright, so what I just went ahead and did is I cut the positive and the negative terminals. That's going to go to the fuse box. I used 8 gauge wire because that's what I had on my solar controller, and I figured that should be enough to run to the fuse box. After that, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to run from that 15 amp fuse, which is perfect because all these fuses inside of here were 15 amps. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is run from that 15 amp fuse and the negative bus bar. Gonna run it up to here in our fuse panel, but in our new location. Up the fuse box, I completely forgot that I had this, which is a battery cutoff switch. This is basically so that when I'm not using the camper, I can turn the battery completely off, and the only thing that'll be plugged up is the solar charger and the inverter. But the inverter also has a switch on it, turning it completely off. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to reroute all these wires to go through this, because this needs to be in series with the fuse panel. guys, so even though I did mess up on that and I forgot about this switch, it was an easy fix. I just needed to create another positive wire that goes in between. So basically right now it is in the opposition, therefore there's no current flowing. Eventually, once I get the interior taken care of, I'm either going to mount it up on this side right here, or I'm going to mount it inside of the battery box itself the exact same way, just reversed. So like that. And then there will be a backing plate on here, and those wires will be tightened down later on. But for now, it will be hanging loose because there is no place to mount it up at. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and get this fuse panel moved on over here, and the wiring ran from that fuse box up through the ceiling and into the wall over here. Eventually what I am going to have is I'm going to have a light bar on the outside that'll be on one switch, light bar in the kitchen, that's one switch, and I got 3 other switches for accessories that I have not planned out yet. It also has 2 USB ports, a cigarette lighter, and a voltage meter on there. So I thought that was a pretty good find on Amazon, and we're going to go ahead and get to it. Super hot outside, so what I went ahead and did is I turned on the AC unit. Might as well have the battery power to do it, and the solar charger is still going. So what I went ahead and did is I got this little shelf made right here. I'm gonna end up framing it out later, but today I don't have time. It's gonna be framed out the rest of the way so that it is nice when the walls come in. What I am going to go ahead and do now is I'm going to run the positive and negative up through the ceiling and down into the battery box, onto the fuse box. And then that's going to be it for electrical today, I believe. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done. I have enough 14 gauge wire, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and run to O'Reilly's, grab some more, but I'm going to go ahead and turn off this AC unit, and I'll be back. Alright guys, I just got back with some more 14 gauge wire. I got 20 feet of each loom. That should be plenty for what I need. So I'm going to go ahead and route that now. So what happened is I either cut the wires too short, or I drilled these holes up top from a different spot than I marked them. But I did end up having to extend both the positive and negative cables. But now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to run them into the fuse box, and then I'm going to flip the switch and test out my control panel. Alright, so it is wired into the fuse box now. As you can see, we're running 12.7 volts right now. Then I can flick all these on. Those will be different accessories throughout the camper. But we got a good voltage right now. It looks like the charge controller is doing what it needs to be doing. And earlier in the video, these both were flashing. Basically that means it's on float charge. That means that the battery hasn't been doing anything, so the charge controller puts it at a low voltage. Now, since only the PV is flashing, basically what that means is that the charge controller is just charging the battery like normal. The reason it started doing that is because I was running the AC unit. That fan that you hear is coming from the inverter. But other than that, I believe that's all the electrical we've got to go for today. Thank you guys for watching today. What we did go ahead and do is we got the on-off switch wired up, we got our fuse box wired up, and we got our switch panel wired up. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and remember, build what you dream.